So, moving on to the advice for the week. The thing I want to talk about this week is paying off debt. So, this was an article I came across that's pretty interesting. It's from moneyunder30.com, which is a good site for just giving you advice and help with a whole bunch of different things related to finance. So, this is an article by Chris Mueller, and it's 11 ways I paid off $80,000 of debt in just 3 years. And this is something that I really personally care about because me and my wife are in the middle of paying off our debt right now. So we're always looking for any type of help or advice or anything that we can get on paying off our debt in ways that we can just get it done quicker, because when you start to hone in on it, there's just you want to get it done as quickly as possible so that you can finally move on with your life. So that's why I want to talk about this, to see if any of this can give you guys some help with paying off your debt quicker. So let's go ahead and start off. Number one is that he refinanced some credit cards with personal loans. So he talks about how sometimes personal loans can have a better uh, interest rate than what your credit cards would have. If you're somebody who carries credit card balances, that could really help you. And he says if you have a credit score of around 650 or higher or something, you may be able to get a personal loan of up to $35,000 at a lower APR. So yeah, if you're, especially if your credit card, if your debt is in credit cards, this is a good thing to do, is to look into those other options to get personal loans or whatever it is to try to get those credit card debts done, or just to get rid of those, because the credit card debt is really what is going to pull you down when you're trying to pay off debt. So that would be a very important thing to start with, to make sure that you can get the lowest APR possible, because then you're going to have the lowest amount in the end that you're paying off. Number two is that he says he got a second job at Starbucks. And I would say, obviously, this isn't just like, oh, yeah, the advice is go get a job at Starbucks. No, it's just getting a second job, doing whatever you can to bring in more income, is just going to help you with paying off your debt. It's like bailing water out of a sinking ship. You just want the biggest bucket possible to be able to do it. So the more money you make is the bigger the bucket you can get to pay off your debt. So anything that you can find, and that can be stuff from not just like W-2 jobs like Starbucks or anything else on the side you can find, but maybe some 1099 contracting jobs like Grubhub or Uber, which Uber is not really something to look into right now, I don't think, as much. But yeah, just anything that you can find, anything that works out for you to make extra money, that's great. I know a lot of times we have more time at the end of our days, and when you're really honed in on paying off debt, that is a great thing to do, is just to be able to use your time as much as you can to make more money. Number three, that he got paid doing surveys and stuff online. This is something that I would say, if you can find out how to do it, that's amazing. There's people who are more that can more easily do surveys online and actually get paid for them. If you're kind of in a more minority of something, whether that's like you have a certain health condition, or you're a certain race, or whatever it is, if you have some type of minority thing about you, that actually can help you a lot more with being able to take online surveys. If you're just a very normal person, where there's just like, oh yeah, there's a million people like you, there's not anything that's really that special about your situation, it's harder to do this, because they'll usually just decline you, because they're like, oh well, we have tons of people to choose from other than you, so they're going to choose those other people, and it's just really hard to get into that. That's been kind of my experience with this. I've tried to do a lot of surveys and stuff, and they just really didn't work for me. I wish they could work. And I even do have some like health things that aren't as normal that I've tried to like see if I can do surveys about that stuff, and it just hasn't worked out. But you can always try this and just see if it works out for you. If it works it out, amazing. It's just another way you can make some extra money. Number four is, he says he used shopping portals that pay you back for every purchase. So this is exactly what I was just saying. He's talking about Ebates, and Swag Bucks, and there's just a whole bunch of these websites that you can use, and apps and stuff, to then help you save some money on the things you're buying. When you're trying to pay off debt, it is like pretty impossible to just say, I'm going to tighten everything and not spend a dime. You're still going to spend money, because things come up, whether that's like Christmas, you're buying gifts for people, or, your spouse's birthday, or, whatever. There's always going to be things that will come up. You're not going to spend zero. So trying to find the ways to, like I just said, using retailmenot.com to save money, whether that's using coupons or using cashback, that's going to be a great way to help you keep some of that money from actually going and leaving your pockets. So yeah, if you haven't checked out Ebates, that's a great one. I use that all the time. Ibotta is also a great app that you can use. It's mostly for groceries, so you can get cash back on groceries, but you can also use it for shopping and just a whole bunch of other things. Number five, he actually talks about credit cards. Now, I know this one for especially like the Dave Ramsey way, he would be very much against this. Now, I totally agree with this website. It is a little bit different though, because obviously, if you are somebody who has issues with credit cards, don't keep your credit cards. Get rid of them. That is not a good thing for you. If that's really where you're having trouble, then you need to get rid of it and you need to stop doing that. You'll never be able to get out of debt, even if you're making more money, if you just keep putting yourself into debt. He says he used cashback credit cards for all his purchases. I do this all the time. It's pretty much all we do is spend money on our credit cards to make sure we're getting the cash back. And we have never carried a balance. I mean, I go in almost every other day and just pay off whatever the balance is whenever it comes in. We don't even get a monthly amount that says that we owe, because almost always I've paid off the amount before the monthly amount even comes to tell us how much we would owe. You don't have to be that crazy where you're paying it off constantly like we are. But obviously, if you are trying to pay off debt, just be smart about it. Just don't be dumb. If credit cards are causing you a problem, causing you to overspend, then that's a problem. You really need to deal with that. But for the most part, I would say credit cards can be used to use their cash back really well to be able to help you save some money and be able to pay off that debt quicker. Just be smart about it. Number six is an interesting one. He says that he sold his unused frequent flyer miles. He actually goes on to say that a lot of airlines don't allow you to do this, or it's actually prohibited. And I guess one of the workarounds that he found was that you're not selling them. There's websites that will actually exchange them for points. These points can be used for gift cards. So it's kind of a gray area. He even says like it's a risk. So you can decide if you would want to do that or not, or figure out if that's something that makes sense to you. To me, I kind of don't understand as much why you would have a ton of frequent flyer miles, but maybe you travel for work or something. If you have that, I guess this is something you can look into, but of course, make sure that you pay attention to, I guess, some of the risks that could be involved in this. So, number seven is to get freelancing gigs online. So, this is what I was kind of just talking about, where it's just about making more money. Any way that you can make more money is going to be better. So, he talks about Amazon's Mechanical Turk. I've never actually tried that. It's something I've wanted to try, but you can do just lots of different things. It says transcribing audio, categorizing images, and other mundane tasks. He also talks about Fiverr and Upwork. Now, I have used Upwork for film editing, and it was a terrible experience. Maybe it won't be so bad if you're in a different type of industry, but I didn't have a great experience with it. But you could always just try it, see if it works for you, see if you can make some more money. And this could also be something like you're just looking for gigs on Craigslist. Sometimes they do gigs. Now that could be a little bit sketchy, so you might want to be careful with that. Facebook also does gigs and stuff that you can pick up. That's a little less sketchy because a lot of times they will be linked to the person's profile. Although I did take some gigs once and it ended up with me having to sue somebody to get paid. So I do recommend that you make sure that you weigh the risk of things and make sure that you're trying to stay safe and actually get people who are trustworthy. And then number eight, he says that he started a business. So I've already talked about this a lot for this time during quarantine, especially if you have some type of art, or like you like to sew or you like to knit. For the most part, if you have anything that's like that, like making something, maybe it's like woodworking, or who knows, anything that's like that, just hands-on stuff, you could start a business right now for Etsy or Facebook. That's definitely something I would recommend, and that's a good way that you can make some extra money to pay off debt. Again, it's just about getting a bigger bucket and bringing in as much money as you can, closing out your expenses, increasing your income. That's what's going to really help you. Number nine, he says he got a roommate. Now, this is definitely a weird one for this time. But yeah, if you can get a roommate, that would be great to be able to cut your expenses if you're living alone or you have more space in the place that you're living. Obviously, making sure that you get a roommate that you can trust, that's not going to be scary or steal from you or whatever. But yeah, getting a roommate is a great idea. Actually, there was a time when me and my wife actually lived with my best friend, and it was just for a short time, But that was a great time for us because we got to cut our expense of our living expense. And it was definitely something weird where you wouldn't think, as a married couple, you're ever going to get that chance. But it came up and we were actually able to save some money doing that. Helped us to save more money to be able to pay off our debt. So maybe even, even when you think it might not work out, sometimes those opportunities come up. So just be looking for those opportunities, maybe ways you can save more money. Number 10, he talks about how he fired his bank. If you're getting charged fees from your banks, or he talks about how he got hit with an overdraft fee of $35 a, a pop because he was living paycheck to paycheck. Now, I totally understand that. There was actually a time when I had a bank account that was linked to my PayPal because I ran my eBay business through PayPal, and my PayPal ran out of money, and it actually started pulling from my bank, and it pulled like one charge of like $10, and then the other ones were like in the cents. It was like 20 cents or something, and like 70 cents. And this was a while back. This was like 6 or 7 years ago or something. And it actually charged me $35 every single transaction, even the ones that were 20 cents and 70 cents. I actually switched banks. That was my decision. So he says he switched to a totally free checking account, Capital One 360, which actually I've had myself, and they have overdraft line of credit rather than overdraft fees. And I switched to Chase, and they have overdraft protection, so that gives you a 24-hour period that if you do overdraft, you can put money in and be safe from those overdraft fees. And I love that they have that. It was so nice because it's so stupid sometimes when it's like, okay, well, maybe you just lost track of something. This is before I even budgeted. So yeah, it's a good thing just to make sure anything that's pulling fees from you or whatever, especially if you have a bank account that isn't free, definitely find one that's free because there are just so many free bank accounts these days. You don't need to be paying money for a bank account. Number 11, he says, I sold my crap. Now, that is a great one, and me and my wife have definitely done that. We moved to New York for a time when my wife was there on work, and then we moved here. We sold, like, everything. We sold, like, all of our furniture, just a ton of stuff, because we were going to be living in New York, so it was a different thing. But also, when we got here and finally settled down into an apartment again where we had to furnish it, we really just haven't bought much. We've really just kind of like kept things as low as possible. And it's been a weird time. Like, our couch right now is from a friend, and it is terrible. I literally have to sit on a pillow because the couch is awful. But you know what? It means that we don't have to pay that money right now. And I would even recommend, if you sell a lot of the stuff, not just selling your crap, but maybe just selling, the things that can bring some money in to be able to pay off debt, even if it's something that you want to have. It can kind of be an encouragement to you to keep working so hard to pay off the debt, because you might be living in like my situation with the couch. We're kind of living in a crappy situation where our couch is really uncomfortable, but it keeps pushing me towards paying off the debt because I'm like, okay, this couch is uncomfortable. I want to like get to a point where I can have a better couch, or a better whatever it is. I'm sure in the time that we get our debt paid off, one of our first things we want to do is then buy a couch. And I think that couch is just going to feel so much nicer to us knowing we worked so hard to get to this point, and we lived on these crappy couches and all these other things we had for so long. If you can get by without it, or you can get by with something that's not as good a quality or whatever, just sell it so that you can get this done as quickly as possible, and then you'll actually be able to use the money that is your money once you are out of debt. So yeah, and the summary here is getting out of debt isn't easy, but with some hustle and creative thinking, you can pay off your debt faster than you think. And yeah, this is just one list, but I would say getting out of debt really involves a lot of creativity. Just nobody's going to be like you. Nobody's going to get out of debt the way that you do. Take advantage of all the opportunities you have around you. To be able to make more money, to be able to save money. Watch things like this show, for instance. This is something that might help motivate you to get out of debt, or give you some ideas for ways that you can save money or get things for free or whatever. Just trying to stay open to those things to try to keep yourself so you're spending as little as possible and making as much as possible will really help you get out of debt quickly. So that's what I would say about that. I think this is a great article.
Cheap. You still haven't subscribed? Oh my god, come on, what are you waiting